So in our first trade here, we've got Marquise Goodwin of the 49ers on his way to the New Orleans Saints for one first-round pick this year. I felt this trade was good for both teams as the 49ers are at one win, not really producing well. And you got the Saints, a team last year, that had a deep playoff run, but, ultimately couldn't get over the top with their lack of receiving core depth. So here they pick up, a borderline, star wide receiver, not right quite there, but, a talented wide receiver which Drew Brees will make above and beyond better than what he would be on a normal team. In our second NFL trade deadline trade, we've got the Denver Broncos shipping off veteran star cornerback Chris Harris Jr. to the Kansas City Chiefs for a first rounder in this upcoming draft. The Broncos kind of sitting there in the middle, and they're in that stage where they don't know if they want to rebuild or try and win now. And it looks like they're pushing towards a rebuilding year. They ship him in division for a higher cost, and the Chiefs have a lack of cornerback depth. Swoop up the veteran Harris. In our next trade at the deadline, we have got the Buccaneers shipping off Gerald McCoy to the Kansas City Chiefs for a second round pick in this upcoming draft. The Chiefs going all out after their Super Bowl loss in our league, obviously. Pick up McCoy to add to Chris Harris to really improve a defense that last year, let's just say, was lacking. The run defense in this Chiefs team is going to improve tremendously, adding the veteran McCoy, who's a real talent at the defensive tackle position. As far as the Buccaneers go, they've got one win on the year, not really looking too special. So an extra second-round pick for a veteran star, they can get his money off the books. I feel is a great deal for both teams. On to our next trade here is we've got the New England Patriots, who are sitting at the bottom of the AFC East, decided to start shipping off some of their more veteran players for picks and for the future. Trade Rob Gronkowski for a third-round pick this year from the Dallas Cowboys. Gronkowski old and slowed down, but is better than anybody on the Cowboys roster, so not a bad deal here for either team. And here's we've got the Lions, who are actually in a position to make a play in the NFC North, picking up pass rushing specialist Dante Hightower with 9 sacks, leading the NFL at this point. For a second-round pick, good value for the Lions here, trying to maybe speed up that rebuild as they know Stafford's years are coming to him. And they have a decent amount of talent on that team now after the trade last year where they sent Slay and Damon Harrison away. This is a young and upcoming team in Detroit, and I kind of like their defense a little bit. And Chicago continues to bolster that front row as they pick up Kawan Sharp from the Panthers, a Panthers team that isn't really playing up to expectations this year. So they're going to dump it off for a second or third round pick for the 28-year-old defensive tackle. In more of the rich get richer scenario, we've got the Denver Broncos shipping off veteran star pass rusher Von Miller to the Los Angeles Rams in return for 2 first-round picks this year and next year and a second-rounder this year. The Denver also sends a second-rounder this year and a third-rounder next year. Second-rounder this year and a third-rounder next year to Los Angeles to make the deal work. And in a deal in which I said the rich get richer, the Los Angeles Rams, who are known for that interior depth, add a star pass rusher to really hold the edge for them. This is going to be an impactful trade for both teams for years to come. And in another important move here, the Tennessee Titans move off Jarrell Casey, shipping him to the Chicago Bears to pair him up with Akeem Hicks and Khalil Mack. Oh my goodness, it's going to be impossible to run on the Chicago defense. Casey, a veteran right end, is really going to add depth, and man, does he fit their 3-4 defensive end scheme. The Bears are really looking like title contenders, but they do have to worry about Le'Veon Bell and Aaron Rodgers in that division. Just adding more pass rush and run stopping depth is very important. Alright, and here we've got the AFC North and South standings. As we take a look at the North here, other than the Steelers, you can really the Steelers you'd think would be the team maybe at the top here, but they're really the only team you can't really make a case for. At the top, you got the Ravens with Flacco and Lamar playing well. Then you got the Browns underneath with Baker. Then you got the Bengals they've really traded off most of their pieces, but they're looking to more rebuild this year. Then you got the Steelers coming in at 2-5. If I make a prediction, I'm going to say the Ravens take the division. And then we got the AFC South. We've got the Texans, Colts, Jaguars, and Titans. The Texans and Colts are the runaway favorites in this division. The Titans are really looking to rebuild here. I don't believe they believe in Mariota, even though he will be leading the league in passing yards. And for the Jaguars, a very talented but aging quick defense might be their downfall here, as they really don't have the offense to support quite a defense. The Colts and Texans are runaway favorites for this division. Alright, so here we go. In the AFC East, we've got our hometown New York Jets on top at 5-2. Nice little two-game lead there for us. Dolphins and Bills sitting there at 3-4. Like I said, Patriots kind of in a rebuilding year, maybe retooling year, 1-6. The shocker of the year, I'd say, is the Oakland Raiders sitting atop the AFC West at 5-1-1. Then we got the Chiefs at 4-4, Chargers at 3-4-1, and the Broncos maybe mailing it in this year, go 2-6. The Broncos potentially looking at a quarterback at one of the top picks in this upcoming draft. And here we are as we got the NFC North and South. The Packers at 6-1 sitting atop of their division. That Le'Veon and Aaron Rodgers combination has been lethal, as not many teams could stop the deadly duo. The Bears coming at 4-3, a team that says, you know what, after our early loss last year in the playoffs, we're coming back stronger than ever. We're sitting at 4-3. Let's go out and make a couple moves. They really bolster up that team. I like the Bears moving forward. Lions and Vikings both sitting at 3-1. I see the Lions making a run here. The Vikings, I do see them falling off as they potentially get injured and realize they do not have as much talent as some of the other teams in their division and around the NFC do. In the South, we come to the 5-2 New Orleans Saints, who I think is the favorite. Really love the addition of Marquise Goodwin. Really adds a lot of depth to that team. And I think moving forward, this is the team. The Falcons at 4-3, I think, are a wild card bound team here. They're going to continue to win. They're in their prime. Nothing more to say. The Panthers are 3-5 here, and I think along with them and the 2-4-1 Buccaneers are going to kind of fall towards the back of the pack here and pick up their draft picks and get better draft picks and kind of rebuild and retool for next year. All right, so let's get into the NFC East and West here. The Cowboys sitting on top of the division at 5-2, fall behind a Giants team that's maybe looking to get their last life out of Eli and the young Josh Rosen, who they made a trade for. Eagles and Redskins can easily make a push in there where, if a top team gets the injuries, or, maybe they get an injury and they decide to pull it off. Atop the NFC West, we've got the Rams sitting at 7-0. After the Von Miller trade, they could potentially go undefeated, but more than likely finish with 1 or 2 wins and be potentially the Super Bowl team out of the NFC. The Seahawks, who have made a couple trades over the past couple seasons, have really put themselves in a chance to make a run here, especially coming from this division where they get 4 easy wins essentially a year. I could see them being another good playoff team. And then we've got the Cardinals and 49ers on bottom of the division here. Cardinals at 1-5-1, 49ers at 1-6. The 49ers will probably finish with their worst record and more than likely move off Jimmy G as they realize he was not worth the $100 million plus contract they gave him 2 years ago. And the Cardinals, here's the team that shocked me. I know they're in a bad division, but I really expected them to make a play here with the additions of Antonio Brown, Gerald McCoy on top of Chandler Jones, Dwayne Haskins coming in. Really made me think that this team, had a chance to make a play, and in the end, it just has not worked out for them to this point in the season. All right, and up next here, we've got the MVP rankings newly released on thatsportsnetwork.com. Ezekiel Elliott sitting at number 1. This man has had a crazy season. When you compare his stats to who's in number 2, which is Saquon Barkley, it's insane. Zeke has had 125 carries, which is only 6 more than Saquon, but has almost 110 more yards at 890, averaging 7 yards a carry. That's just insane. And he has double the touchdowns. Halfway through the season, Zeke is on pace to break LT's record at 14 touchdowns. Which, that looks insignificant here to who we got number 2. It's Saquon, who's got 786 yards, which is insane. 6.6 a carry, which is absurd, but looks like nothing compared to Zeke. And then he's got half the touchdowns Zeke does. This is just insane. I think we do play Dallas too. That's what's worse. We're going to get to see this man firsthand. And then in third here, no slouch at the quarterback position. And it is Kansas City quarterback Patrick Mahomes, sitting at 2,100 yards, 15 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Really tuned down the interceptions this season, sitting at a 63% completion percentage. We'll make sure to update you guys every week with the MVP rankings. And here we go. We got the passing leaders after Week 8's completion. We got Mariota shockingly throwing for 2,300 yards, which is the most in the league by about 50. So he could lose it, he could gain it. But right now, Marcus Mariota is number 1. At number 2 in the touchdowns columns, or not number 2, at number 1 in the touchdowns columns, we've got Phillip Rivers, quarterback of the Chargers, throwing 18 touchdowns here through Week 8. Put him on pace for about 36 or so, we'll make sure to update you guys. And then in week 8, completion percentage leader is Russell Wilson, sitting at about 70%. As if this was any shock to anybody here for our rushing leaders, it is Zeke for all of them. I mean, I went over this in the MVP rankings, but my God, he's just running away with all the awards here in the rushing leaders. Now we come to the receiving leaders after week 8. At the yards, we've got T.Y. Hilton at 718 yards, which is the most by about 100. At touchdowns, we got Tyreek Hill with 9 touchdowns through week 8. And rookie wide receiver for the Tennessee Titans, Kelvin Harmon and T.Y. Hilton both have 53 receptions. But since T.Y.'s already up there, I threw the rookie up there, gave him some love. But yep, through week 8, he is the most most receptions to this point. And here we go into our defensive leaders after week 8. At the tackle spot, we've got Miles Jack with a 4-tackle lead over the next person. At 78 tackles through week 8, that's putting him on an insane pace for roughly 160 tackles. If he hits that, he'll make sure to get himself a Defensive Player of the Year award. And then at the sacks, we've got Dante Hightower sitting there with 9 sacks through this point in the season, but one game he had 4, so it's a little misconstrued, but yep, to this point he's leading the league in sacks, and the newly acquired line is going to look very well, is going to hopefully produce very highly for him. And then in the interceptions position, we got Janoris Jenkins, the Jackrabbit, with 4 interceptions to this point on the season, playing really well even at his older age. Maybe look to continue to be a key piece of this Giants defense for a couple more years.